Annie plays piano. She plays and plays. Day in and day out. From the moment she wakes up until she goes to sleep. Annie plays piano. She's quite good too. From the classical sounds of Beethoven to the romantic Tchaikovsky. Her skill was undoubtable and her knowledge was vast. But you wouldn't call her inspiration to play love or passion. It was more of a task, an obligation. Annie had to play. She always had to play. Father loved to hear her play. It was the only thing he loved, it seemed. He was an angry, violent man. He often took this anger out on those close to him, his family. Annie, her mother Rose, and her older brother Timothy. Especially Timothy. But never Annie. Not as long as she was playing. This wasn't the only reason Annie played. She also found that when Father was having one of his disagreements with Mother and Timothy, if she concentrated hard enough, played loud enough, she could hardly notice the horrific sounds that filled her family home. Annie played piano. She got lost in it. She stayed there as long as she could. Every time Father got violent, month after month, year after year, she was playing the night it all came to a head. The night Father took it too far with Timothy. She was playing in her black dress the day that Timothy was buried. She was playing the day Mother finally stood up to him. Annie had never heard her mother speak so loudly before that night. The shouting was so loud Annie was sure to have bruises on the tips of her fingers from the mere force with which she was slamming each key. She couldn't stop. She had to be louder. She didn't even stop when the deafening sound of the gunshot rang through her ears, not even when the cries of her mother grew faint and faded away completely. Annie plays piano, so she doesn't have to hear anything else in the whole world. Just the notes that filled the air around her. Annie would never stop, not even after Father passed away from drinking too much. She played and played day in and day out, before and after work. While she worked, it was all that was on her mind, week after week, year after year, until she too passed away from old age, and her family home was sold in an auction. A new young family moves into her home, and her piano remains in the sitting room untouched. The young mother plans to hire an instructor to teach the children to play. It would be such a waste for such a beautiful antique piano to go to waste. She never quite gets around to it. This is why it comes as such a shock when the family wakes in the middle of the night to the most beautiful piano playing coming from the sitting room. The family all get out of their beds, convene in the hallway, frightened, and slowly make their way towards the sitting room. The piano is clearly playing, but there is no pianist. As they stand hypnotized by the unnatural and impossible serenade happening in front of their eyes, they don't see the silhouette of an old man slowly making his way down the hallway behind them. Annie plays piano when Father is violent. Annie plays piano so she doesn't have to hear anything else in the whole world, just the notes that fill the air around her. Annie plays piano. Hi, I'm Izzy, and that's a horror short story I call Annie Plays Piano. I'm a really big fan of horror podcasts like the No Sleep podcast, Creepy, the Black Tapes, Tanis, the list goes on and on. So I thought it'd be really fun to try my hand at that kind of horror, so I wrote that little micro supernatural horror short story for you guys. If that's something you enjoyed and you would like to hear more of, maybe even longer stories, let me know. If there's any stories out there that you would like to hear me read, or stories of your own that you would like to hear me read, feel free to send them over. Until next time, be excellent to each other.